Good afternoon, everyone. Can you please hear me? Can you please reply?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yeah, hi.
It is our great pleasure to welcome everyone to Axon 2020, the 10th edition of the Medical Extravaganza conducted by PSG IMSA. A hearty welcome to the participants of the event, the Judge Suresh Sir, Executive Director at PSG STEPS. A few words about Dr. Suresh Sir. Dr. Suresh Sir started his career in Coimbatore in a textile machinery manufacturing company, after which he joined PSG Science and Technology Entrepreneurial Park, which is PSG STEP, the Technology Business Incubator, TBI, associated with PSG College of Technology, Coimbatore, India, with a focus to support startups in the areas of information technology, electronics, and mechanical. He has been a part of establishing the incubation facility and building its brand to be stakeholders of entrepreneurship in the institute and in the region. For about 2 decades, he has been responsible for managing the incubation facility, hand-holding startups, implementing the innovation fund, managing the seed fund support system, coordinating the outreach center activities for promoting innovations, and identifying and executing the consulting assignments. Suresh Kumar is the president of Indian STEPS and Business Incubators Association and also handles the Secretariat of Asia Pacific Incubation Network, an initiative supported by InfoDev, World Bank, and Department of Science and Technology, Government of India. Under APIN, he organizes capacity building programs and workshops for the business incubation managers across the Asia Pacific region. He's certified as business incubation trainer by InfoDev, the World Bank Group, and a mentor in the National Entrepreneurship Network. He had participated in various international programs and workshops held in various countries. Suresh Kumar holds an engineering degree in mechanical and a PhD in management. It is a great having you, sir. Thank you for your presence. It is our immense pleasure in welcoming Dr. Sudha Ramalingam, ma'am, Faculty Advisor for Axon and Director of Research and Innovation. Thank you for your time, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So we will get started with the event, Biomedical Hackathon. So I hope you all can see my screen.
Yes, please.
So this hackathon is a new addition to Axon this year. We all know that creativity is intelligence having fun, and creativity and innovation is what a hackathon is all about. Change calls for innovation, and innovation leads to progress. For any nation to progress, innovation plays an important role. With the current pandemic, we have realized more than ever the imminent need for innovation in different areas of healthcare. This makes us self-sufficient and true to achieve the dream of Atmanirbhar India. Hence, this event is planned to foster not just critical thinking, but also thinking outside the box. Before we get started with the event, we'll quickly go by the rules. So the participants will be given 10 minutes each to present the abstract using any form of audiovisual aid such as a PPT. This will be followed by a 5-minute discussion with the judges. The decision of the judges on the winning entry will be final. So the criteria for judging will be based on the uniqueness of the idea, relevance, presentation skills, Q&A, and potential to translate it to device. Each will be given 10 points each, so there's a total of 50 points. I request the participants to respond as their name is called and share their screen and begin their presentation. A timer will be set and a reminder will be given once the 10 minutes is over in the chat box. This will be followed by a 5-minute discussion with the judges. So good luck, everyone, and may the battle of ideas begin. So the first team I'll call upon is Tirupati KV and Yamini M.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, yeah, you can hear you.
Oh, can I share my screen now?
Yes, please do.
Yeah. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Good morning. Good afternoon, sir and ma'am. Can I start?
Yes, please. You can proceed.
Yeah. I actually sincerely thank Biomedical Hackathon for providing this opportunity for us. Here, we are actually concentrating on problem statement that we have found that the patient under critical care or emergency has not been given that much important at this pandemic time. So how we are going to crack with the technological implements. So these are our objectives. We're actually going to say about the technological motto, how we are going to implement, and we also cover all the general systemic diseases, and we are also giving a conclusion on how it can be implemented, either it can economically and also medically. So the introduction is health is the most important thing. Devoid of any condition, it is the most important thing, and it should be given properly to everyone. So it can be achieved in such a way that only through the implementation of the technology. We have analyzed from the present scenario that the more attention is given to the coronavirus pandemic diseases, whereas the less attention is given to the chronic diseases, and the emergency critical care for such diseases has been reduced. So this has created a threatening one. And on the observation, we came to know that such diseases patient cannot able to get their regular checkups, or if they want any admission has not been taken place either private or either on the governmental side. So now introducing the technological mottos, we have 6 things. First one, we are going to record the patient details, and we are going to transmit to the smartphone system under cloud conference to the medical care provider, also to the third party. And we also treat the patient through the first line treatment, and along with the monitoring of the patient after the treatment is given. Our target is to achieve the accessibility among the patient, and also to provide a good healthcare facility. So these are the criteria what we are actually expecting from our objectives to be. So we actually, the main criteria is to fewer the readmissions and also the patient's admissions, so that like it can be also either help in this pandemic condition. So first, coming to the respiratory emergency, we all know that any respiratory emergency is considered to be the COVID, or everyone is actually feared of that. We came to a solution that we have analyzed that there is a shortage of ventilator. We can provide them televentilator or G-spot respiratory system. Let's see how it's worked. So this is the working system. Already the patient has been enrolled in, we are actually considering the selective population. Enrollment of the patient details takes place. Now the synchronization is taking place. And after that, the patient vital has been monitored through the smartphone system, and it has been shared to the healthcare provider. So he can actually grade the condition of the patient, and the drugs has been given in the form of inhalational tube. And after the treatment or the delivery of the drug through video or the audio call conference is done with the patient, and after providing a printed prescription is given to the patient. So this is the complete setup. This is an imagination one, and which we have made. So we can see the electrospirometry, which can actually give the grading system of the diseased condition, and also the complete setup is seen over here. So coming to the how to implement this, first one is to we have actually considering the high risk population who are more suspected for the coronavirus disease, and next one we are concentrating on the most the red area we call it as containment zone or a buffer zone. After that, the prevention for the enrollers, we actually covering the complete population, and the next scheme is about the each one catch one. But it is actually difficult, but if it is necessary in case of more vital spread, we can actually implement this. So next, coming to the cardiac emergency, how to implement. There are 2 types of cardiac emergency. One emergency is through in the form of the actual cardiac pathology. Next one, the patient, those who are actually infected through coronavirus, actually taking hydrochloroquine and azithromycin, which can actually prone for resulting in long QT syndrome. So bringing you the solution over here is the mobile cardiac telemetry, and along with the Carnation ambulator monitor. So this is how it actually provides. The same thing, the patient login and synchronization takes place, and analyzation of the vitals is taking place over here. The data is encrypted to the healthcare provider, and the treatment is given in the form of inhalational drug or through the CAM patch. That's what we are actually saying. So this is the complete setup of that device, and this how the synchronization takes place, and like we can all the cardiac necessary monitor has been given, and the grading is actually set up, and the drug is provided in the form of either inhalational or the transdermal patch. Now here come actually a criteria over that how to place a transdermal patch can be accessed through a video or audio call from the healthcare provided for a person who is actually connected to the third party single cloud conference. So this is the feasibility. Though we can't able to complete up to the 4th level, we can actually find out who are actually risk population, and also the moderate risk population like smokers or alcoholics to give a better benefits. So this is CNS treatment. We can actually treat the CNS assessment from a telemonitoring remote system. We actually treat the patient, and we are actually sending them to the home, and we are providing a wearable band which can detect any CNS emergency is being indicated. So such patient can be actually connected through video or audio conference, so which can actually reduce the readmission and reoccurrence. So these are the implementation. The implementation is also up to the second level. We actually cannot until it is considered to be any neurologically associated communicable spread is considered. So next one is this is the most important thing I have to mention, the disaster condition where the dialysis has not been taken place, and it is actually most of the patients are suffering from this. We introduced a teledialysis in which an app is introduced where the patient should log in themselves and the teledialysis is provided such that it can actually replace the continuous visits to the hospital. So the same setup of level 2 implementation is given to over here also. So this is the complete setup of the teledialysis, what we are actually mentioning. Same thing, synchronization and single code conference. We are actually considered to be in the vital parameter. These are the vital parameter which is actually conferred to the healthcare provider smartphone system, where that these are the main parameters which can actually detect the grade of the patients too. And this is the intelligent devoid of the conventional ICU, what we are seeing every day. Pervasive ICU and Next system, where we can actually analyze the patient from a remote system by vision or a wearable sensor or light or noise meter. The pervasive environment actually considering about the face recognition and also the facial AU detection system, along with the posture recognition, where the gait can be actually absorbed through the video call and audio conference is given. This is the complete environmental setup. We can actually provide a noise or a light level detection, which actually providing to detect either a low or increase in any vital parameters or any detection of any emergency. So this is the artificial intelligence, and it is the most important thing too. And it is actually providing the form of stick figure animation, though it is very cost effective, but it is actually very good at progression. We have also analyzed the market value of implementing for any technological implementation. It is considered that it is very difficult to implement until that there might be social or people may be against it, but until it has been given through a proper health education and along with the technological implement of the governmental setup can actually bring a good criteria over here. We came to know about two things have been cost utility and cost effective analysis has been taken place, and this is our approximated data of the market value of implementation of RPM for 10 years and 1 year, and also for the single bed has been given over here from the Profine devices. And our conclusion is that the base of any technological implementation is very difficult to implement, but appreciable withstanding along with the good cooperation and management skills can actually bring the proper system alignment and protocol can reduce this kind of burdens at any kind of pandemics. These are our reference. I thank everyone for providing this opportunity to explore my knowledge. Thank you. Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you please
Thank you.
stop your screen sharing?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it's all fine.
Yes.
So you have your team member here, I think Yamini, right?
Yes, sir.
Whether she is in this presentation
Yes,
today,
sir.
if she wants to add something to this.
No, sir. Due to some network issue, we plan to present single, and like you can ask her questions too. She also know about it.
Okay. So I have one or two questions related to the business side. Whether this kind of solution is not existing right now?
The solution has not been existing. This plan has been
remotely monitoring the vital parameters and pushing the data to the respective doctors or the hospitals.
but it is not that much appreciated in the Indian population. Like it is not that much appreciable when compared to other countries. So that's what our opinion is.
The need was not there, and today because of pandemic, the need has come. So already people are existing in the market, right? Whether they'll be in a position to reach out to the patients very quickly. Right. Now you are at the idea stage, and you are planning to convert this idea into POC, and then coming out with the prototype, crossing all the processes and reaching out to the market. And there will be few players who are already in the markets with wireless, remote, and with wired solutions, right? And some of the Indian companies have also raised funding for this kind of remote monitoring solutions, right? Whether you have came across any such products in India, whether they have reached out to the market or not, to the patients to the greater extent or not, that's secondary. But whether they're existing, whether these solutions are existing in the market, whether you have any idea about it.
So it has been existing, like not that much popular level, but actually it is existing only at a very kind of private institution, and I hope so. It is very difficult to implement at government system, but even though if it is implemented, it is very difficult to maintain. And we are providing this idea so that like we can bring any change, or that is our actually thing. Any technological implementation has more opposition, and it is actually economically burdened. But when it is actually promoted in a good way along with good protocol, can bring good innovative challenges. That what.
So you are repeatedly mentioning that there is some challenges in the implementation, right?
Yeah, obviously any implementation of any technology,
What are the
new products.
What are the top 3 challenges that you're facing in this technology, and what is the mitigation plan that you have to overcome this risk?
First one challenges I can say is about the capacity of the people, like about the literacy thing, because most of the people that much like won't accept this kind of technology. They may feel there will be more social issues too. And the second one will be the governmental system and proper implementation. We have to actually effective doctors along with the good proper oriented patient person should be implemented in this thing. And the third one I can say is about the complete the production of the products, which should be delivered properly without any malfunctioning.
Okay. So what is the solution that you have, or the mitigation plan that you have to increase the acceptance level of the product among the patients?
The implementation plan will be first one will be about educating the patient.
Making a plan to make the patients to accept your product. Since you are told that
first one will be educating them. First we have to say to them how the condition is actually more important, because it is pandemic condition. We actually are complete lockdown, and to break this condition we have to educate the patient. That will be the first one. And to make a comfortability between the patient and the doctor system, so a good rapport should be there in between both of them, and for that the complete comfortability should be there. For that, like good support along with the good communication may make the patient and all this acceptable, and continuous advertising and by the governmental support and implementing law can also bring changes. That's what we are hoping to.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you.
So thank you for the excellent presentation. Right. So how long do you think
okay, thank you,
need to implement this?
Actually implementation of this kind of skills, actually I don't think so. The acceptance is itself a very prolonged time will be taken for accepting this, and I don't know how it reaches the patient person or the population. We can actually select a certain kind of certainty, which is we have to concentrate, like red area zone in where the indication is the more, and the incidence of the patient can be more. We can select at that criteria, and we can only implement at that surrounding. But we can actually, it is very difficult to globally or through the state-wise or national level implementation is very difficult. Like to bring down the current present condition can be implemented only through the selective area. And it can be either take year, and that is my opinion, but it cannot be done in months.
Yeah, is Yamini there? What is her opinion on that? Is he?
Hello?
Yeah, Yamini. So, yes, you are. Yes, so what is your response to the questions? The same, or?
Since a lot of people don't really actually accept that machines and all are very reliable, so it will take a lot of time. Since we have to educate a lot of people and make sure that they really know how important this is. Mm-hmm. So probably when everything gets developed and when people really know what the importance is, they might accept it.
People, in a sense, you're talking about the doctors, or you're talking about the community?
The community, ma'am.
You think doctors will accept?
Doctors.
I'm
yes,
about to ask that question.
Okay.
Doctors will accept for these technologies. Then we'll discuss about this. Thanks.
Thank you.
It is depending upon the consideration of how the technology can help the society is the main criteria, and mm-hmm. it is not about the doctors or the patient, but a portion will be from the both sides. Our complete aim is to educate. That is the only option to say. But because it is very difficult for them to accept at this condition, because they are oriented to all those classic techniques which they has been came across, because everyone is so hopeful in that. But over here is being considered is completely the educating both the sides. But a portion will be more from the patient side because they are popular, like they are a common community, and we can actually try to make accept doctors, and doctors can also support with the government and bring out any changes. That's what our criteria has been.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you, all the best.
So I call upon the next team to present, and they will be Aditya Chandran and Shaktivel S.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, Aditya.
Yes, ma'am. Sharing the screen.
Mm.
Can you see the slides?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning. I'm Aditya Chandran, and my fellow teammate is Shaktivel S. We both are fourth-year medical students from PSG IMSR. Thank you for providing this opportunity to present our innovation. Our innovation idea, we named it as V-Rehab. I'm going to talk about V-Rehab. How did we come up with this idea? How did we identify the problem statement? How did we innovate, and how did we implement this idea? In India, there are almost like 5.4 million physically disabled people, and there are like less than like 1 lakh physiotherapists all over India. And who need a physiotherapist. Physiotherapy is a long, tedious process for which is needed, which not everybody can afford, or everybody can are willing to do. We know Stephen Hawking. He's a very famous scientist who was a disabled person. We interacted with several physiotherapists, engineers, and many physically disabled people, and so we gathered few problem statements, what they faced, and here are some of them. So what we found was there are very few physiotherapists to pay the people who need the therapy ratio, and most of the people who need are in the remote and rural areas. Therapy costs time and money, and therapy also they don't get an integrated approach. That is, therapy is either only physiotherapy. They don't get speech therapy, occupational therapy, and psychological support, because a stroke, for example, a stroke patient can present with all the problems, but he will only go for physiotherapy because either lack of awareness and the cost, and there's lack of continuous monitoring of the patient's progress and monitoring, and there's a disorganized data among the doctors, physiotherapy, and the other therapists. They don't work together. There's no flexibility to the patients for their time and when they can do the exercise, and most of the old people cannot travel. They lack support, emotional stress, for these patients, the burden falls upon the caregiver more emotionally and financially. And this pandemic, the COVID pandemic, has made the situation worse, and most of them didn't get the therapy. They couldn't visit the center more frequently. So at present situation, we do have after this problem statement, we did look into society what solutions are available. There is only telemedicine and telerehabilitation, and there are products like Practo and UB Care, but these are very in the startup model, and they are just a consultation kind of platform. They don't provide a holistic and integrated approach. So we came up with a idea innovation called V-Rehab. It's a virtual rehabilitation. It's a community platform. It is integrated platform that is involving speech, language, occupational therapists, and psychologists together. We use innovative technologies for continuous monitoring of exercise and prognosis. We provide demo exercise videos so that the patients can mimic them. We provide feedback. The medical professionals can provide feedback and medical advice This is 24/7 audio and video consultation. And since only basic smartphone is what all you need, it can reach wide geographic area. This costs less money and is efficient and effective. This is our working plan of the rehab. As you can see, this will be planning to gamify the exercises. So most of the patients, what they do is after like 1 or 2 months, they lose motivation, because physiotherapy is a long, tedious process. They don't see immediate results. So we are planning to quantify their progress using AI, so that they get motivated. And so we gamify the exercises. They get reward points. And this platform is, since it's a combination of physiotherapists, psychiatrists, doctors, and nurses, they get a more holistic approach to their all working together to benefit of the patient all the time. And this is a community rehabilitation. That is, in the sense, in this platform, whoever are using this platform can interact with other stroke patients. The caregiver can interact with other caregivers. They give each other shoulder to support and motivate each other, so that they lessen the anxiety and depression. Because most of the disabled people, they feel low and they feel helpless and dependent on someone or the other. So Shaktivel will talk about the technology we are used.
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah. Yes.
Good
Yes.
afternoon, all. So, Aditya spoke about the problem and the solution we are proposing. I'm talking about the technology we are using and how it benefits the problem. We are planning to use the IoT-based devices and smartphones and optical sensors, which are present in the smartphone's front camera and rear camera, which can capture the patient doing therapy in real time. The video and image are analyzed by the artificial intelligence and computer vision platform, and it will be stored in the cloud storage. In real time, the things monitored are range of motion of joints, muscle strength, posture, body balance, power, gait tracking, number of repetition, energy expenditure. These things are monitored using the computer vision program. The data are sent to the therapist, and they can monitor the progress of the patient, and they can provide feedback to the patient, and they can modify the exercises and tailor made for every individual. The benefits of this platform is it supplements the existing system. It does not replace the conventional system. It aids the system and enhances the recovery. It saves time, money, and travel. It provides an integrated approach in which physiotherapist, speech, occupational therapist, and psychiatrist in a single place. It provides tailored treatment plan and exercises for every individual. It is user friendly. The patients can do the therapy at their home comfortably. It provides continuous monitoring and feedback, and the data is sent to the therapist and monitor the prognosis. Since it's a community platform, it provides a community support and motivation to the patients, which helps in reducing the anxiety, depression of the patient. It provides gamified exercises and provides reward points, which helps in encouraging the patient and motivation to do the therapy. It maintains a digital record in the cloud storage.
Though we came up with this rehab, we did face few challenges. We did envision few challenges. Severely disabled people cannot use this platform, and people who do not have a smartphone cannot use. And few patients feel the need to have a human touch with the therapist for a better therapy. And no, there's no special equipments at the home. On the way forward, we are planning to implement fun and innovative exercise for speech and language therapy, occupational therapy, installation of IoT device in the PHC, so that anybody, even people who do not have a smartphone, can come to the PHCs and do the exercises. We are planning to expand this project to regional languages, resource sharing, and crowdfunding, so that we reduce the cost even further and it benefits a larger population. And that's it, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. You can go on for questioning, Dr. Suresh.
Yes, ma'am. If you have any questions, then I'll come back.
Yeah. So yeah, very good, Aditya. That's interesting. Have you already developed this device, or you're planning to develop? It's just in the planning stage.
It's planning stage. We are planning to build this in a prototype within 6 months, because I have spoken to engineers. They told it is possible. A prototype will be built within like 4 to 6 months possible.
Okay. So what are the ethical issues you foresee? Are there any ethical issues in this?
Ethical issues?
Data privacy is
Okay. Okay, good. Yeah.
very encrypted platform, encrypted manner, and the data are stored in the safe.
Mhm. Anything
We are using
else?
cloud storage, so it will be, we can use blockchain technology, so it will be quite secure.
Okay. So what about patient if he falls when he does the exercise?
Yeah, this we have as an emergency consultation, as you can see, help center and emergency, quick emergency. So there will be some kind of healthcare provider will be available 24/7, either a doctor or a nurse or a physiotherapist or psychiatrist who can provide immediate help. This supplement to the existing technology, conventional therapy. This doesn't replace at all the existing. You definitely have to go to the centers, but this will reduce the frequency.
Okay. So you said you need to install internet in the PHCs?
Yeah, smartphones, so that because not it just needs a basic smartphone device. They have to stand in front of the smartphones and do the exercises. It can be any can be even laptops or even higher-end devices, but they can perform the
Okay.
exercise.
I mean, in rural areas, if people can afford smartphones, if this platform will be available in the PHC centers, they can go there. It will be near, ma'am, and they can
Yeah.
use this.
And smartphones, everybody has a smartphone. This costs just less than 4,000 nowadays.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. So, whether in the medical side for the rehabilitation, whether you have any stages based on the severity of the injury and things like that, whether you have any stages in the physiotherapy?
Yeah, in physiotherapy, there are various scales how they measure the ability of the patient. One such grading is muscle strength, which is a 5-grade system. So 0 to 5, where 0 is he's completely no movement at all, and 5 is complete movement. Patient who are less than 1 can definitely not use this platform, but only 2 and 3 only can use this. Patient with 2 muscle strength of 2 and above only can use this platform.
Okay. So your market size will be in the scale between 2 and 3 or 2, 3 and 4, right?
No, like I mean, one such example is muscle strength is one of the scale I'm saying. Not everybody needs, it can be even a speech therapy, a person who just needs a speech therapy, who just had an accident, not just stroke patients, any patients, cerebral palsy, GBS patients. There are a wide range of patients can be addressed through this.
So your rehabilitation or rehab solution, right? Are you going to focus a particular set of target patients to start with? If you're going to start in next 6 months,
yeah,
are you going to do with ortho patients, or you're going to do with speech therapy, or what is the target patients that you have chosen? See, the solution in AA can be given to a number of problems, right? So to start with, we have to start somewhere else, right? We have to take small steps. And you have to prove the concepts and right. So if that is the case, what is the target patient group that you are going to choose?
We initially started with talking to stroke patients. So probably we'll start with stroke patients because stroke patients will have multiple problems from speech to physical disability to they need occupational. So that will be the start.
Out of these three, speech, right, occupational, and right, out of these three, whether you can develop a product for all the three problems at a stretch, or you have to develop this stage by stage.
It works together, though their names are different. The occupational therapy will fall under physical therapy. It is like occupational therapy in the sense a patient is a keyboard player. He got a stroke. He asked for the therapist to, I need to improve only my daily wages through playing piano. Means he can say that to the therapist, I want to improve my hand skills, fine motor skills or gross motor skills alone.
Suddenly, the objective of our study was to reach out to the rural. Your first slide were talked about the rural people are not affordable, and the case discusses about the piano. Right,
that's for an example.
So right, that's where I got confused. Right.
For example, because we spoke to
no. When you're talking about the market, right, rural market, and you are going to talk about the people, right? So what kind of therapy that they'll be affordable, right? If you're going saying that you're going to rural PHC, right, to primary health centers and do it, whether they'll be able to move, whether the family can move them, or whether you are going to bring the therapy to their rooms.
Yeah,
right?
We are bringing.
We are going to talk about mobile phone, and today the smartphones are available at 2,000, 3,000 rupees, right?
Yes.
If that is the case, and whether the therapy can be done by the caretakers at the home itself, whether you have a solution. If so, if you're going to take stroke patients as the first target group, right, patients, and if you're going to give all the three therapy, right, whether you have any plans on how many exercises, and whether you have any scales in that. Speech therapy has any scales, as you told, for the muscles, whether you have any scales medically, right, for the speech, for the physical therapy, or for the occupational therapy, whether you have any measurements so that we can position your product, or we can fix your product to whom it will be helpful.
So there are scales, how the patient progresses from the start he gets the disease to vary to 2 months to 3 months. There are scales how they monitor. What we provide is collecting the data, in quantifying the data. The therapist can from that, using those data, he can make the scales. There are scales by WHO, IAPs, and European societies. There are scales which provides like speech, how much speech is we can measure it, quantify it.
It also provides virtual consultations, in which the physiotherapists can communicate with the patient virtually.
Okay.
And they can monitor and they can provide the exercises.
So did I answer the question?
Yeah, we'll come back to you for a detailed discussion, okay? Right, just for an understanding where you stand, because it's at the conceptual stage, right? So these questions are just to have an understanding about to what extent you have thought about your product, right? You have not completed your POC, I think so, right? These ideas are at the conceptual stage. You are thinking about it. Am I right?
We did pitch this idea to say one Ravi Ranganathan, Dr. Ravi Ranganathan in T Nagar, physiotherapist. We did pitch this idea to our PSG college professor Regan sir also. So he did say.
That's what I'm asking. It is at an ideation stage only, right?
Yeah.
You are putting the idea, and the more work has to be done at this ideation stage, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So how committed you and your team? Which year you are?
4th year, sir.
4th year, right? So how you and your team are committed to take this as an initiative, or go into medical practice by doing your PG? If we want to help you convert this into a product, take it to the market, it has its own lead time.
Yes,
right?
sir. Mm-hmm.
So by that lead time, what is your plan? Whether you want to be part of this entrepreneurial journey, taking it to the market, working with your IT friends,
Yes, sir.
a
Yes,
team,
sir.
and you are being a consultant, or whether you'll be moving into your medical practice.
I see this innovation as like very doable, and the need is very certain. So I'm planning to take this product further, and I have been talking to engineers. They also said this is doable and scalable project, viable project only. So I don't see.
So how
I'm planning to do this, to take this project further. So we are planning to take this.
So how about Shaktivel's commitment?
I'm planning to I'm also planning to take the project further. We are planning to implement it if it's possible.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, team 2. Can you please stop sharing your screen?
Sure.
Hello? Hello? Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I call upon the next team, Rubna Das and Manasa Joshi.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
Good afternoon, sir, ma'am, and everybody present here. Today, my team will be presenting Her Health, an initiative for women's healthcare needs. The problem statement. As a general rule, all women should visit a gynecologist at least once a year compulsorily for a checkup. However, only 24% of Indian women visit a gynecologist even once a year. Now, the reasons for this may be the time constraint for the working women, lack of awareness about regular checkups, unmarried women may face stigma, and currently, because of the ongoing pandemic situation, visiting hospitals is not very safe. Now, the problems arising due to this are cervical cancer. It's the third most common cancer in India, and the fatality rate is 49%. The occurrence is 1 in 53 Indian women as compared to 1 in 100 women in developed countries. Similarly, breast cancer is most common cancer in India, and the occurrence is 1 in 28 Indian women. And the survival rate is 60% even post-treatment as compared to 80% in developed nations. Now, pregnancy complications. Many a times, a complicated pregnancy could have been avoided with the proper antenatal checkups. However, only 85% of women even attend half of these checkups. And they may also be facing infertility issues due to underlying conditions such as polycystic ovarian syndrome, endometriosis, etc. But many of them are not even aware that they are facing such issues. Now, these are a few examples of cases where the situation could have been remedied with regular checkups and early detection. Now, the solution we're presenting is Her Health. Her Health is a centralized app that connects women to gynecologists, nutritionists, pharmaceuticals, and hospitals. What we aim to do here is to develop a self-help app to aid women in finding the solution to their obstetrics and gynecology problems, and also to help pregnant women during the course of their pregnancy and aftercare. Also, we aim to create awareness about the OBGYN problems and propose the need for regular checkups. The features available. The services that can be used through this app are, you can get an expert opinion in the case of any OBGYN related queries, where experienced gynecologists can answer your questions online. You can book appointments for either online or face-to-face consultation with specialists. As we all know, booking appointments the regular way is a big hassle with maybe multiple calls to the hospitals, trying to get a free slot takes up a lot of time. And maybe that discourages people from doing regular checkups. This app lets you do it in a matter of minutes. It can be either online through text or audio or video chats with doctors in real time, or if you prefer a face-to-face consultation, that can also be done. The app is available in all regional languages. It acts as a translator for both parties and allows them to communicate freely and impart critical information. It has nutritionist services available, such as diet planning, which is especially important in pregnancy to avoid complications such as gestational diabetes and abnormal weight gain, etc. The app is linked to pharmacies to buy medicines online. It also has reminders or pop-ups to take checkups or medicines or scans, etc. As I mentioned before, such as a screening test for cervical cancer, breast cancer, etc. It also has a BMI calculator to calculate the abnormal weight gain, and has FAQs and articles. FAQs are frequently asked questions about common gynecology-related issues, pregnancy, feminine health and hygiene, which are answered and vetted for by expert gynecologists. This is certainly much better than a Google search, which people normally do to get answers and which is quite unreliable. It has a feedback and review application and other services such as a pregnancy tracker, a baby kick counter, menstrual cycle calendar, etc. Now the architecture. When you first download the app, you will see the first image, which allows you to select the language in which you want to view the app and enter your details, name, age, location, etc. And once you open it, you come to the second image, which has icons for all the features that I mentioned before, such as the first one is to interact with gynecologists, and the second one is the link to pharmacies, fixing appointments, etc. Now I hand over to my fellow presenter, Rubna Das.
Hello, am I audible? Hello?
Yes, you are. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Now the approach towards our app. The app is aimed towards the female population from the following division: women of menstruating age group, women of postmenopausal age group, pregnant women, women with any kind of obstetric or gynecology related issues. And Her Health connects this population with gynecologists, nutritionists, pharmacists, and hospitals. Now next slide. Now we come up with the existing ideas. There is no such app with all the ideas that we have included in Her Health. But there are apps like Totally Pregnant, which allows pregnant women to live chat with other pregnant women around the world. And PregLife is an app which provides calendar that helps to track baby growth. And Practo is for consultation. And Period Calendar is for tracking menstrual cycle. And 1mg or Pharmacy is for buying medicines online. What makes Her Health unique from other apps? Her Health is available in all regional languages. In an app, you're getting specialist consultation, can book appointments with specialists and hospitals, to find hospitals, read articles, to buy medicine, track pregnancy, menstrual cycle, and many more. The app is free to download and first service is free of cost. As we all know, the internet is of so many unreliable information. When anyone with a keyboard and an internet can get published, it can be difficult to sort the reliable sources from the hacks. Anyone who has ever Googled their symptoms will know the self-diagnosis spiral. First, you have a headache, then you have a cough. Now Google tells you it's a rare form of cancer. There have been reported cases of patients experiencing a single symptom, Googling it, convincing themselves they have particular condition of psychosomatically. Doctors are trained to come up with a far more accurate diagnosis than you could ever hope to achieve on your own. We have included the frequently asked questions that are verified by doctors and are given by doctors from the years of professional knowledge. Now the outcomes. It reduces the number of hospital visits. In terms of proportion, 31.6% of working class in India are females, and contribution to GDP is only 17%. Comparing to other countries, in India, female contribution to GDP is low. With the help of Her Health, where online consultation is possible, it will help the working class a lot. Also, in the time of pandemic, when the government asked people not to travel, Her Health have a great role in women's health. In India, 53.2% of non-pregnant women and 50.4% of pregnant women are anemic. With the help of gynecologists, nutritionists, and folic acid reminder, anemia rate can be reduced, potentially reduce the risk of cervical cancer, breast cancer, and many more. Online interaction with doctors at own convenience could treat the complication of pregnancy like preeclampsia, abnormal weight gain at home itself. Now, it's the marketing strategies. The app is free to download and available in Google Play Store and the App Store. We believe that it is profitable to launch the app on both platforms to reach as many users as possible. So here is the strategies. We have a pre-launch marketing strategies, post-launch strategies, and ad-launch marketing strategies. In the pre-launch marketing strategies, we include blogs, email to the probable customers, teaser website creation, short and crisp YouTube ads, and we believe that social media is another cheap medium to promote and make the app visible to the target masses. Word of mouth marketing is one of the most valuable source of marketing as consumers trust their friends. Collaboration with influencers will help to reach a wider population. The offline methods we are taking are ads in newspaper and journals. Also, beta testing and further changes in app can help it to release to a wider audience. In the app launch marketing strategy, we are including a wide range of media coverage and viral marketing. And finally, the post-launch marketing strategy. It's important to avoid losing focus and customer retention. And we believe that building customer loyalty early on goes a long way. And the post-launch strategies we include app store optimization, behavioral retargeting, social media coverage. In the revenue model, next slide. Yeah, in the revenue model, we are including the advertising and affiliate marketing. We can display the banner ads or the video ads, and we charge on cost per mile, where we receive payment for every 1,000 views of the ad, and cost per click receive payment when the app user clicks on the ad, and cost per view charge advertisers for the number of ad views, and CPI is for paid each time our app users install the app we promote. And in-app purchases, we sell different type of items, including consumable and non-consumable items. And in freemium, basic version for free and the advanced version of the app for a price. Then there is the transaction fee, and we are getting the transaction fee from the pharmaceutical purchases, appointment fixation, and consultation. Next one is the year subscription. We are providing an yearly subscription for hospitals and pharmaceutical. That's our dream, Her Health, and myself, Rupna Das, and Mansa Joshi are the team. Thank you.
Ma'am, you can ask some questions.
Yeah. Thank you, Rupna and Manasa. So I didn't understand the last bit of it. What is the transaction fees? Something you mentioned. Can you explain that again?
So, ma'am, we are providing online consultation as well as fixing appointment for the offline consultation, that is face-to-face consultation. So a patient or a woman can book through our app, while during their transaction, we are deducting like 10% from the total appointment fee.
So you will get 10% from the total appointment fee. Okay. So it's for profit. That's what you mean. You're looking to, yeah, that's the revenue mode which you're looking. Okay. Fine. So how do you track behavior?
Mom, I'm sorry.
Is it possible to change? It's possible to change behavior through this app?
So, ma'am, do you mean the upgradation of this app?
No. See, you're targeting women, right? For their health, like, checkups, lifestyle, and so many variables you have included. So my question is, how we are going to track behavior change?
Mom, certainly everything can't be tracked through this app, but the thing is that the main problem we're looking to confront is a lot of women are not aware that they are supposed to go for gynecologist checkups, and a lot of complications happen due to that. As I mentioned, the statistics for the cancer and everything. So our aim is to reduce it as much as we can. For certain, we also provide face-to-face consultations and appointments, as I've said, and whenever they have major symptoms or something like that, they can make use of that feature.
Okay.
This is just a generalized idea to just potentially bring down the level of complications and deaths due to gynecology issues.
Okay. So how is your app different from the already existing ones?
Ma'am, in the so one feature that we include is when a person download our app, we will give pop-ups for regular scans. So in case of cervical cancer, there is something called pap smear test. So at least a woman should do that once in their life. Many of them have never done that in their life. So we will give a pop-ups so that they will get an awareness, like every 2 or 3 months we will be giving that. So at least they will do that, and that total rate of the cancer can be reduced.
Thank you. So Dr. Suresh, you can ask.
See, you have already listed the list of apps which has been there in the market, right? And right, this service that you're going to give to the gynecologist or to the women, that can be included, that can be an added service to Practo or whatever the app that you have mentioned. Why should we have a separate app? And a lot of telemedicine startups are there, companies are there already in the field. And they can add to the list of gynecologists, and they can go ahead with the services. Why should we spend more time on adding a product and doing it?
So in case of Practo, for each services, you will have to pay money to Practo. And from that, they are giving incentive to doctors. Why gynecologists will prefer?
See, that is on the commercial side, right? And even you are going to charge, you are going to take about 10% of whatever the percent that you are mentioning. And tomorrow your charging style will also change. You will also become like Practo to charge, right? That's one thing. But my question is whether I'm talking about the implementation of the technology part, whether this particular service, whether they give it at 100 rupees or 1000 rupees, that differs. Right? How quickly a competitor can include your idea into their product. It is called as entry barrier. Have you created any entry barrier? If Practo decides to have gynecologists also to be added, and they also give it at 1 rupee, right? At what Geo is doing it at the entry barrier, right? So you will not be in the market.
Sir,
so what is the uniqueness that you have so that other competitors are not being able to do your service, whether you have any uniqueness?
Sir, actually, so Practo has only consultation. All the apps that we have mentioned take only one aspect of the features that we have in our app. Such as Practo is just purely for consultation, and the other pregnancy trackers and stuff like that are just for tracking your pregnancy. This is an app that brings all of it together. To like everything is available, all of it is here. So that is what we're seeking to market.
So why the pharmacy is not available in Practo? Why they have not plugged that service?
I don't know.
That's why we have to look at. See, somebody is not providing that service. What is the reason behind it, and how easily they can plug in, or there should be a special reason for not plugging in. Right? Right, you are at the idea stage, and you are discussing about an idea. On the technology part, it is about an app, and you are bringing in a database of doctors. It's all good, and somebody is doing it for X services. You are exclusively doing it for gynecologists, right? Having a pharmacy added to it and things like that, whether we need it, why others are not doing it, what is the challenge in that, and whether we can overcome that challenge, or otherwise you are increasing your scope of work. Having a pharmacy itself is a business for somebody else, right? And now, are you going to divert your energy, your efforts in having 2-3 products together? If pharmacy itself is a business, right, and you are bringing in all the 3 into one, why not you have a tie-up with pharmacy? And people who are logging in can have access to the pharmacy, and they can place it, and you can have a percentage out of the business that comes from your app, Why should you spend more money on developing another pharmacy app? This is what I want to have an understanding. Instead, I can have a tie-up with them. And I can log into your gynecologist app. If I want to buy medicine, it will take to pharmacy. Whatever the billing happens there, you will get 5%, 10%, 3%, whatever it is you accepted. So maintaining that particular transactions is a headache. Maintaining the database of medicines, everything, right? Their logistics, supply logistics, somebody orders app, somebody should deliver to you, right, at your doorsteps, right? It's taking care of it. So you are bringing in 2-3 businesses together, right? And you can think whether you can have a tie-up or whether you have to do it on your own, right? It's just a thought that I want to share it with you.
So we're looking to have a tie-up with the pharmacies. Like we're not developing our own pharmacies for this. With the pre-existing ones, we're just including them in our app so that people can have easy access to them. Not like we'll be developing our own ones.
Okay.
Also, so we are giving a yearly subscription for them, and we are not taking for each purchases. Only the transaction fee is happening in each purchase.
That is a business model, right? That is the charging is, we call it as a business model. How we are going to generate revenue? That's your revenue model, right? How are you going to generate revenue? Whether it is on yearly subscription or it is on family package, or right? It is about how we are going to collect money from the customers, right? But here I'm discussing about same thing, same product idea. If Practo starts doing it, what will happen to your idea? Right? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Team 3. I call upon the next participant, Abhyudaya Mehta, to kindly share her screen and begin her presentation.
Yeah, one second. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry, yes.
You can go to full screen.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Abhyudaya Mehta from Jawaharlal Nehru Medical College, Karnataka. Today, I'm here to present COVAID, an AI application to collect patient data and aid the diagnosis of COVID using machine learning algorithms. Mankind is facing a situation graver than ever seen, the COVID-19 pandemic. According to ICMR, for diagnosis, RT-PCR is the gold standard, along with standard Q COVID-19 antigen tests. But these platforms require specialized lab facilities and lengthy waiting times. In this era of data science and AI, there's a dearth of data for researchers to start predictive analysis on. Also, there isn't any universal platform for doctors to upload clinical patient data such that it is open source and available for researchers. With this project proposal, intend on tackling these problems, coming up with a feasible and effective solution. Keeping in mind the rising rate of mortality and morbidity, early diagnosis of COVID is of critical importance, and thereafter earlier treatment improves outcomes as well as alleviating burden on the healthcare system. So now that we know the problem in depth, let's look at the proposed solution. The goal is to design an AI model that can identify COVID based on initial chest CT scans and associated clinical history. This can be implemented as a rapid diagnostic tool to flag patients with suspected COVID infection. The radiologist can then review these suspected cases identified by the AI with a higher priority. A comprehensive set of fields will enable us to gather fresh data about clinical history, lab data, past history, etc., and then observe new patterns. CT severity score along with patient symptoms in real time will be used to decide ward or ICU admissions with or without mechanical ventilatory support. I have developed a prototype for sophisticated data collection using a clean interface and secure database setup, which will be used for patient clinical information, and all of this will be completely anonymous. Now, let's see the parameters that will be used in this project. CORADS, the COVID-19 reporting and data system, provides a level of suspicion for pulmonary involvement of COVID based on the obligatory features on an unenhanced chest CT. These features that we know about are ground glass opacities, bilateral pulmonary infiltrates, crazy paving pattern, and etc. The level of suspicion increases from very low, that is category 1, to very high, category 5. Category 0, as mentioned, is chosen if none of the 5 categories can be assigned because scans are, let's say, incomplete or of insufficient quality. Here, we can see an unenhanced chest CT of a COVID-infected patient. We can see bilateral areas of ground glass opacities with crazy paving more evident at both the bases. Now, let me explain how the severity score works. We know that right lung is divided into 3 lobes and the left into 2. Each lobe is given a score of 1 to 5 based on the lung involvement, giving us a total score of 25 for all 5 lobes. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Is the slide visible?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
All well.
All right. On the right hand side, you can see the criteria as well. That is, if the lobe involvement is 5%, then the score assigned is 1, and so on. Higher the score, more the severity of infection and prognosis would then depend on it. In clinical practice, using this along with real-time symptoms of patient, doctors can decide ward or ICU admission faster when there are large number of patients. I'm so sorry. Ma'am, can you see my screen? Actually, light went out at my place. I'm not able to understand.
We can see your screen now.
Oh. Okay. So further on, over here, we can see the technology that we will be using. We have a Flask, which is for the website development, which is accessible. The website is it has already been deployed on the website and has access to both on laptops as well as phones and tablets. For deep learning and machine learning objectives, we have Python's scikit-learn as well as Keras, TensorFlow, etc. The website is currently mobile friendly as well and completely responsive and dynamic. So we can add on whenever and wherever we feel we need to add on to certain diseases or certain other symptoms. Moving on, we have the AI process. We are particularly looking at 3 approaches: convolutional neural networks, supervised learning, that is decision trees, and k-nearest neighbors to facilitate our predictive analysis. On the right here, you can see the 4 steps that give us an end-to-end high-level view of the steps taken in an AI process. First, data collection, then model training, assessment of that model, and predictive analysis. On the left here, we have the diagram for the k-nearest neighbor algorithm. So the basic idea is that we assign the label of the new sample, that is in this case a symptom, and according to the number of patients that have that symptom, we classify it according into disease A and disease B. Further, on the right hand side of the slide, you can see convolutional neural networks. This is basically, there is an input image of a CT scan. The convolution takes into account the CT scan, looks at a particular high value point, which is in this case, the ground glass opacity, and using that, filtering it and giving us the final outcome of the disease. Moving on to the feasibility of the solution. How feasible is this? Well before the pandemic, enthusiasm around machine learning based technology in medical imaging had notably increased. Now, huge data sets have generated numerous publications reporting AI applications in COVID-19. While building the data collection form, it was clear that without ample clinical data and lab data, it would not be possible to assess the infection effectively. For that very reason, we have tried to include as many points for clinical history, for example, duration and severity of symptoms like fever, breathlessness, cough, etc. Here, I would like to show you a model. This is the animation showing our minimalistic yet very comprehensive form. We ask for a wide range of symptoms along with complete medical history, but are completely anonymous, unlike platforms like Google Forms and Qualtrics. So this is the form. You can see the animation. Everything is dynamic. They can choose, and everything is anonymous. Market value. As mentioned before, the main selling point here is that we will improve radiology workflows, which will be extremely helpful in times like these. Machine learning algorithms are often modular, meaning that new algorithms generated during this pandemic might be successfully repurposed for other pulmonary diseases in the future. There will always be a balance of risk and rapidity and efficiency, and the key to optimizing this balance is to define the need for which solution will have the greatest clinical value. And we tackle that with the ample amount of data that we intend on gathering with the help of our platform, the prototype. So that's the idea, that's the prototype. I'm a second year medical student, and I intend on using my medical knowledge that I have gathered over this past 2 years, along with the research and that I have been currently doing, and also hope in the future I can collaborate with people with expertise in the field of machine learning to get this structure formulated and implemented to help the community and aid the diagnosis of COVID. Thank you very much.
Ma'am, over to you, ma'am. You have been in this
Yeah.
field for the last 6 months.
Okay, thank you.
You are the users.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you for that presentation. So what are the variables you're taking? You mentioned only about CORADs. What about inflammatory markers? Are you including that as well?
So ma'am, firstly, CORADs is for the CT scan, and the markers that you're talking about, that will be assessed over here in the form that we have provided. So the form has an option to upload lab data, has an option to upload, if possible, a scan, let's say an X-ray, if they have, they can upload in their own language. They have options as well. So if they have a particular symptom, let's say breathlessness, if was it, how long has it been? Everything has been divided into a very go directly to the patient. But thinking about it, I which is the root, which is the source of all of these patients, that they can incorporate this into their history taking, into the way they tackle the patient, and they directly input everything, all the data, all the information.
So your hypothesis is that it will aid in diagnosis as well as prognosis. What is the unique, what is unique about this particular product that you are trying to develop?
Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible. What is unique about this product?
So ma'am, AI for medical imaging is becoming more prevalent, but using clinical history along with, let's say, a CT scan has never been done before. I have personally read publications on the use of CT scan for diagnosis of head injuries, subarachnoid hemorrhage, subdural hemorrhage. So that is how I got the idea to use CT scan, which is an already defined diagnostic tool for COVID, to use that along with clinical history, because that is something which nobody is focused on. And as a medical student, I personally believe that clinical history it's one of the most important aspects of patient evaluation. So allowing that and allowing that clinical data that we receive to be open source for researchers and public health workers for their purpose, for their study, it can be done and open the network of
Okay. So what happens once the epidemic dies down? What happens to your product? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you.
Yeah, I can.
I'm really very sorry. The internet is getting disconnected.
It's okay. It's all right. It happens. Don't worry about it. So I'm asking what would happen after this epidemic dies down?
So the idea behind is to aid the yes, ma'am. The idea is
go ahead.
To aid the diagnosis. So let's say the pandemic gets over, the same format can be used for let's say during the influenza season. We have the CORAD category already, which defines pulmonary involvement of a particular pathogen. So while using this format only, a CORAD category of let's say 4 or higher, 3 or higher, we can use that and have the differential for us and can prioritize that. Okay, this is an infectious etiology, or if you have to focus on a non-infectious etiology. So it can be modulated into absolutely any disease. Like I mentioned, CT scan for head injuries is already in place. X-rays, using X-rays for pneumonia differentiation has been used. So exploring this is a very very upcoming field for healthcare imaging, I think.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
So you're on mute. I can't see you.
Sir?
Dr. Suresh, any questions?
No, I don't have much questions on this because it's a new area and a lot of activities are happening on to help the doctors or the healthcare professionals. And you are the authority in that, and I leave it to you, ma'am.
Okay, not an authority yet, but yes.
Because ma'am, 6 years, 6 months that you have been involved in this process this day, but so.
Okay, thank you.
I believe that this is, even though this is a new venture, AI definitely is upcoming, but using AI in this modality can never replace a doctor or a clinician. Let's say there is an anatomical variant or some abnormality that has to be taken care with the doctor's perspective only. So for now, the idea was to aid the diagnosis of this pandemic, which is the most important thing. But later on, this can be developed into a very, very upcoming and an elaborate field. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank
you. Srinidhi, what next?
Yes, ma'am. Do you need some time for discussion?
Yeah.
Getting points. So.
Yeah, give me. Yes, that's all. Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
sir, that's.
So, can I request Dr. Suresh to give us feedback, like what he felt, and later once we decide on the results, he can just give us valuable inputs on what the presentations were, how it went.
The first thought that came to my mind is I can see the next generation of the doctors. Usually about 5-6 years before, when we discuss with the doctors, they used to say that we have a problem, but we need engineers to work. But I can see this young generation are talking about more on the technology part. And at times I had a doubt whether they are an MBBS professionals or
exactly.
What you have taught in the classroom, now I haven't doubt. Right? they are equally becoming professionals both in medical as well as in the technology part. That's good. And second thing is, all the four, they have taken the ideas that has been required at this point of time. All the four ideas, right? Either it can be a remote monitoring, or it can be a gynecologist is too niche and they're worried about the women health and the in general. It has been a vulnerable section, so they have taken into that. And rehabilitation, definitely there is a potential. And all the four ideas, the fourth one on the COVID-19, right? All the four ideas are good. And the next stage, what they have to look into is whether they have to collaborate with existing people, or in what way they are unique, and right, how to develop the proof of concept. And that's where they have to spend more time on to validate their idea, whether this idea will have an acceptance in the market, whether people will look into it. One, as you rightly mentioned, that whether patients are accepting, and before that, whether doctors are accepting that and doing it. And rehabilitation, right? People are talking about making videos and coming out with things, but they have to look at revenue model. If you make a video and if it is publicly available, and people will start using it, and how they're going to make money as a startup, and how they're going to expand or scale up their operations. These are the few thoughts that I have, right? But I'm happy that business ideas are coming up, coming from the hospital or from the medical college environment. And I congratulate the entire team. Have been working for this hackathon, and having a theme on having a hackathon in the medical innovation. And in the next edition, we can also look at supporting your initiative, because it will be a face-to-face next time, and we can have a campus-wide, and PhD Step can extend its support both financially and as well as from the mentor side, on the business side, to take it up.
Right.
We can engage in this activity in coming years.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your feedback. We really appreciate it.
Yeah. So I would like to place on record my sincere thanks for Dr. Suresh being here as a judge. I just called him a couple of days back, and he readily agreed, right? So initially I was a little bit concerned because, whether this is a new event, whether we'll have entries, and, whether calling him will be like, is it, can we call him, because such a senior and experienced person in this area, can we call him? And, I was a little bit apprehensive, but when I saw the entries and when we shortlisted, I had the confidence that the presentations would go well and I can call him. And he's the right person to give you inputs. And I'm very happy that he's here. And I thank him on behalf of Team Axon. And I would also like to congratulate all the presenters, because it's not easy to just come up with an idea, and then conceive it and bring it to a product. And I really congratulate, because all of you felt the need for such products. Maybe like, you had some personal experience, or you saw some patients, or in your ward or somewhere, and you really internalized it and came up with this product. So I really congratulate all of you. And I'm very happy with all the presentations, and wish you all the best. We'll come back with the results shortly. So stay tuned.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Suresh, may I invite you to announce the results now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
So, as I told you, all the contestants, all the four ideas have been wonderful, and but we have to choose two. So these kind of statements you have heard right from your childhood, right? We have only two prizes to whom we have to give. But the way we have chosen, right? I'm telling the logic behind it. We have chosen two teams. One, the first prize goes to Rehab, right, by Aditya Chandran and Shaktivel, and the second prize goes to Tirupati and Yamini for their remote monitoring bill. And the reason behind choosing these two ideas is we looked at how quickly you can implement it and you can take it to the patients or to the stakeholders, because you're working in an environment in a hospital as well as in the medical college, and where you also have PhD step incubation facility. And looking at the infrastructure, the resources, and the environment that we have, the priority what we looked at is how quickly you can take it to the patients, you can do the trials, and you can interact with the respective departments. And since we have all of you have 1 more year and we have the house surgeon to be completed here, what we thought is these 2 ideas can be quickly implemented and taken to the patients. So the results are the first prize goes to Aditya Chandran and Shaktivel team, and the second prize goes to Mr. Tirupati and Ms. Yamini team. Congratulations to all, and others also. The ideas are good. Still, you can look at how you can take it to the next level.
Thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you, sir.
And more expectations are from my end for the rehabilitation team. And we look forward to at least, I told ma'am that even with 3-4 exercises, instead of going to mobile phone and doing it, every ward, every room has a television there. You can video shoot it. You can convert that into a pen drive with the help of your physiotherapy and orthopedic departments whomsoever. And it can be screened immediately in the televisions that has been there, or it can be screened quickly. And people can continuously do the exercises without waiting for the physiotherapists to come to their respective wards and rooms. Right? So make use of the facilities and infrastructure and the resources that is available within PSG itself. That's more than enough for the implementation. This is my viewpoint. And congratulations to you all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Congrats. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Congratulations to all the winners and the participants of this event. Hope the program was informative and fun. I would like to thank the judge, Dr. Suresh sir, and our event in charge, Dr. Sudha Ramalingam ma'am, for providing us with this opportunity. Finally, a hearty thanks to the participants for your cooperation and enthusiasm. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next.